The Haunted Room. I arrived in Saigon in 1992, carrying both excitement and the quiet worries of a man starting a new life in a strange city. After nearly a month of staying at friends' places, my wife and I decided to find our own room to live in. One morning, I picked up a newspaper with a listing for a room for rent and followed the address to a small house tucked deep inside a narrow alley in Chanbin district. The room for rent was on the third floor, quiet and secluded. When we arrived, the landlady had gone to the market and taken the key with her, so we couldn't look inside. Still, my wife liked the place right away. It was peaceful and cheap compared to others in the area. We agreed to move in that coming weekend. On Sunday morning, right on schedule, we returned. This time, the one who greeted us was the landlady's daughter. She had smooth white skin, long hair cascading over her shoulders, and deep dark eyes filled with a quiet sadness. Though it was our first meeting, I somehow felt a strange fondness toward her. She smiled gently, handed us the key, and spoke softly with a politeness that left an impression. He thanked her, then began helping my wife prepare to move in, unaware that within minutes, something would happen that I would remember for the rest of my life. After receiving the key, I told my wife to return to our friend's house to bring the rest of our belongings, while I stayed behind to clean. Carrying two heavy suitcases, I was out of breath by the time I reached the third floor. The rusty old lock wouldn't open no matter how hard I tried. Thinking I'd better ask the young lady for help, I started back downstairs. But when I reached the first floor, I suddenly remembered the suitcases I had left by the door. Fearing someone might take them, I rushed back up. When I arrived, the door was already open. On the lock were a few sticky, dark red drops that looked disturbingly like blood. A chill crept down my spine. The corridor was empty, silent. Only a few old slippers lay scattered on the floor. Forcing myself to stay calm, I picked up the suitcases, stepped into the room, and flicked the light switch. The room, about 20 square meters, was dim and suffocating. A single red light bulb cast a ghostly glow, turning the air heavy and oppressive. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew in, and the door slammed shut behind me. Startled, I stumbled backward, tripped over a suitcase, and fell hard onto the floor. As I stood up, I remembered the flashlight my wife always told me to keep inside the luggage. I quickly grabbed it and turned it on. Just as a dark shape shot across the floor toward my feet, I screamed and jumped aside, shining the light down. It was only a large black cat. It stared at me with wide, gleaming eyes before leaping through the window and vanishing. My heart was still pounding as I swept the flashlight beam across the room. The walls were covered in cobwebs, dust clung to every corner, and the air smelled damp and stale. I moved toward the bedroom and heard faint noises. Opening the door, I saw a nest of tiny pink baby rats, squirming under their mother, who darted away at my presence. I sighed in relief, thinking I was just being paranoid. But the longer I stayed, the more it felt like this room had been forgotten for a long time, holding secrets no one dared uncover. After tidying up a bit, I walked down to the kitchen. As the flashlight swept across the dark space, I suddenly caught sight of a figure in white, bending down in the corner. My breath froze, my legs went numb. I held the light steady, only to realize it was a white raincoat, swaying gently in the wind. I let out a shaky laugh at my own foolish fear. Turning to leave, my eyes caught an old photograph lying on top of a cabinet, its surface covered in thick dust. Curious, I picked it up and wiped it clean with my sleeve. When the image became clear, I froze in horror. It was the same girl who had given us the key that morning. That delicate face, those sad eyes, that soft smile. Well below the photo, in faded ink, was a line that made my heart stop beating. An Yan, born 1966, died 1992. My hands trembled violently. Impossible. He thought, she I stayed, then who did I meet this morning? My mind spun in chaos. The red stain on the lock, the door that opened by itself, the dim crimson light, everything came flooding back in a chilling rush. Terrified, I ran toward the door, but before I could touch the handle, it slammed shut again. He banged on it, shouting, "Help! Somebody, please, help me!" Then, just suddenly, the door creaked open. Standing before me was the girl from the photograph, her face pale, her long hair floating slightly in the breeze, her dark eyes calm yet unfathomable. She tilted her head slightly and spoke in a soft, almost tender voice. "Are you all right?" I stood frozen, drenched in cold sweat. Then my wife's voice called out behind me, full of concern. I turned. She was standing at the doorway, staring at me. Hearing my frantic story, the young woman smiled faintly, her voice calm yet tinged with sorrow. "Please don't be afraid," she said gently. "My name is Amy, the younger daughter of the landlady. The girl in the photograph you saw is my twin sister. Anna, she just passed away in a car accident abroad a few days ago. My parents were too heartbroken to clean this room, so they locked it. When you came earlier than expected, I hurried over with the key. The lock was rusty, so I put a few drops of oil on it, not blood." I stood there speechless, feeling both relieved and foolish. The whole room seemed to grow brighter after her explanation. Every strange thing, the red stain, the slamming door, the flickering light, suddenly made sense. I turned to my wife, held her hand tightly, and whispered, "I'm still alive, thank God." Amy smiled kindly and helped us clean up the room. Under the new light bulb, everything felt warmer, less frightening, though the faint smell of dust and the whisper of wind lingered through the open window. The fear inside me had melted away, replaced by a quiet sadness for the girl named Anna, whose gentle face still lingered in my mind.